some background. So everybody knows, of course, that the last day of Pesach, the last day in particular, the focus is the final redemption. And the truth is, that is not so obvious at all. Because on a simple level, the last day of Pesach celebrates the crossing of the Red Sea, finished. That's why we have 7 days Pesach. That was the culmination, that was the 7 day Pesach. And in Golus and in Chutz La'aretz, in diaspora, we have an extra day. And the Haftarah, now even though the Haftarah speaks about Mashiach, but it never was understood as being the focus because the story really begins with, mentioned in Shabbos, Sancherev, the king of Assyria, on Pesach, that had already conquered many cities in Israel and was going to conquer Jerusalem, Yerushalayim. And Yeshayahu tells King Chizkiah that it'll be a great miracle, which is what happened. And he also tells him about the future. It's the next chapter. It's attached to it. It's not really the focus. The focus, it's a Pesach story. It's a story of Sancherev on Pesach. It really started with the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov began to put the spotlight on the second half of the Haftarah, which is the bulk of it, which is the incredible prophecy of Moshiach's coming, the world filled with the knowledge of God, and the wolf lying down with the lamb, and so on. He was really the one that started it. The Mekubalim probably also before, I assume, but the Baal Shem Tov emphasized it, and he made a special Suddi called Moshiach Sudda, and all Chassidim do it in one way or another. The Sephardic world, which is very tuned in to the inner dimension of Torah, I don't know how far it goes back, but they also have, as you know, every might say Pesach Mimuna, and I understand that the source of that word Mimuna is Emuna, which is faith in the final redemption. But the Sephardic world is very in tune. You know what they do, Shvi Shal Pesach. Shvi Shal Pesach, they all come together, up all night also, like many Chassidim, and they say Zayar.
And the Litvish world.
Pardon?
And the Litvish world.
Shvi Shal Pesach, nothing happens at night. It's in the Hasidic world and the Sephardic world. I was introduced to it when I lived in Sharmady. Rabbi Banon just came, so he invited me to come to his shul. He didn't tell me what. He said, Shvi Shal Pesach. I assumed there was a Fabrengen. Oh, all night saying Zayar. Okay. Learning, I didn't know what. So that's when I saw it firsthand. So that's pretty recent. And the reason why it's recent is because the time hadn't come to focus on the final redemption because it was very far away. Baal Shem Tov started to feel it, and the whole revelation of Chassidus, the whole movement, is a pre-Mashiach last preparation before Mashiach comes to reveal the inner dimension of Torah, the soul of Torah, to learn about Hashem on a very deep level, which is a foretaste of knowing Hashem. When Mashiach comes, now's the time to focus on it. And we mentioned yesterday, the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, took it to the next stage and added even 4 cups of wine, which is really to taste and to savor, and very individualistic wine as opposed to matzah. And we told the story yesterday that what sparked it to a degree is a little girl, his granddaughter, the Chaya Mushka, eventually the Rebbe's wife, who pointed out correctly that Achron Pesach is different. We don't say Shechiyonu, and the deep meaning is because since it's all about Mashiach, and we don't have it to point with the finger, Zeh, this is it. Zeh means, here he is, then we don't say it. So it's a very strong Mashiach thing, saying we want it to happen that we can see it. So the Haftarah, if we'll have time, there's not this week, the next week, one of the prophecies actually, number Pasuk 15 is Hashem will dry up the tongue of the Egyptian sea. You see that? He shall lift his hand over the river with the strength of his wind, and he shall beat it into 7 streams, and he shall lead the exiles with shoes. This is describing our final redemption. And if we'll have time, I'm going to focus on the shoes. Like, what's the difference how we cross this river? And besides, the Rebbe asked in one of his Maimarim, For those people living north of the river, Jews are coming back, got to cross the river. But the rest of the world, we don't have to cross this river. It's the Euphrates River. It's Nahar Pros. It's not in our way. Why are we crossing the river? And why is it struck into seven streams? And why we go across with shoes? This is the subject of many, many profound Maimorim. If we have time, I'm going to deal with the shoes thing because it has to do with lever and behemoths. Just occurs to me. So it's related to some of our panosa. But it's the next pasuk I want to look at, which is from a different chapter that describes Moshiach. And the pasuk says, I just want to get up this. The pasuk says, God is speaking. Hine yaskil avdi, behold, my servant shall. Well, yaskil means being very wise, really. Here he says prosper. Haskalah means very wise. Yoram, he'll be exalted, Venisa, elevated, Vegova, and high, Ma'id, very much. So the question is, it's four ways of saying the same thing. What do these five descriptions mean describing Mashiach? And I want to explain it here a little bit. And it's not just, as you will see, well, it's very nice what Mashiach's going to be, but a profound message to us. Okay, friends, there's five things mentioned here. Yaskil, wise, Avdi, my servant, Yorum, again, next three, Venosa, Vegova, Venisa Vegova, three expressions of elevation. Altogether, there's five descriptions. So what are these five descriptions? On the next quote you have just below that from the Medrash, and it's translated for you. You can see the translation. The Medrash says, Chamisha Shemus Nikrula. The soul has five names: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. The order should be Chaya. There's the different Girsois. Chaya and then Yechida. And the translation actually gives the sources in Chumash where we find that the soul is referred to by these five names. Okay, to explain now. These five names correspond to five levels of the soul. You notice, in many Chabad, maybe others also do it, we light five candles. The mourner has five candles lit when he says Kaddish. Because of this, the flame is the symbol of the soul. Kener Hashem Nishmas Adam. The flame of God is the soul of man. A flame, however you hold the source, always goes up. The neshama is always, no matter which direction in life we point, the soul within us is always striving and longing for connection to Hashem. Of course, the flame gives light and warmth. The soul, when it's revealed, as David, you were saying, brings light and warmth to our environment. That's our mission, to illuminate the world. We're flames of God. And you all know what the Rebbe told Bibi Netanyahu when he was the ambassador to the UN, representative to the UN. He says 40 years ago, more, 50 years ago. The Rebbe told him the UN is a place of darkness and lies. But remember, you say the emes, like a little flame. The flame is very small, but it transforms an entire dark room. Your job to tell the truth, and you will vanquish the darkness. It was Simchas Torah when the Rebbe told that to him. A famous story described at length by many people. By himself too. He told the story at the UN actually. And at J Street, he told the story many times. So the soul compared to a flame. So there are five names to the soul. Bottom up, nefesh. What's nefesh? So let me tell you at the outset, the first four names correspond to the four spiritual worlds that we're all familiar with and the four letters of Hashem's name. We're going from the bottom up. Nefesh. Nefesh is the animating. Even animals have a nefesh. It's what animates the body It's this thing that you see, behavior, movement. That's nefesh. You look at a person before you get to know them at all, they say anything or anything, you see movement. There's breathing, the eyelids, he's walking, talking. Nefesh, ruach, probing deeper into the soul, that's the place of the emotions. The 7 emotions, 6 emotions, 7 emotions. Neshama, third name, higher, is the intellect. And the physical body is built this way to reflect this hierarchy. The hands, which are action, come, and the feet are the lowest. The hands extended below the midpoint of the body. Then is the heart, the emotion. Then is the intellect. So nefesh, ruach, neshama, these are the 3 conscious levels of the soul, which is why there's also a custom, if you to have candles lit, if you're not a mourner, 3 conscious levels of the soul that are manifest. Then there's chaya. What's chaya? Chaya is willpower. Now, willpower is like the keta, the crown that sits on top of the head. Willpower is stronger than intellect, stronger than in everything. And we said many times, it's sad that we do not use the drive, the will, a fraction even. Because if we did, we'd accomplish much more. Nothing stands in the way of will, nothing. Person wants to get something, I mean, Saif Hashem can have his plan, but he'll break through every boundary. If it's a deep, strong will. Basically, it's survival and success. He wants to survive, he wants to be successful, whatever he deems success, that's will. So if his world is the world of learning, I want to be successful in learning, I've seen it. Then if he's born with limited intelligence, he will expand the intelligence. The mind eventually will become, and you become a scholar. Few people do this. Whatever area in life, if you really want it, it's going to happen. So for the Yid, of course, we want that to be in the service of Hashem. The other way too, if you don't want, the will close the mind, close the heart. A person could have an IQ that he could learn, understand. He doesn't want to. Whatever he's upset, and he doesn't want to learn, he won't understand, doesn't go in. The will close the mind. And the will also, by the way, manipulate the emotion. It's an amazing thing. Here's somebody, people, become friends naturally if there's a certain, you're not friends with everybody. Why? Because some people, you have this connection. It's an emotional, a little bit intellectual, but mainly emotional for your friend connection, and others you don't. So, but what if there's someone I want to be his friend? Because you've got an agenda. So then you'll force your emotions to like the person, even though you really wouldn't. Even though it'd make you nervous usually, if you didn't have this agenda. That's how powerful will is. And the same is the opposite. Here's someone that you would connect to naturally. You have this similar attraction, symbiotic charisma but you don't want to like him because of whatever you have another, you won't like him. So will is a very powerful force. That's the 4th level. That's Chaya. And then there is the 5th level, it's called Yechida. And what's Yechida? Yechida only exists with the godly soul. Everything we described till now, the animal soul has also. Behavior, emotion, intellect, and will. A very strong will. But it's all in materialistic things, selfish things. And the godly soul, the neshama, has it all directed to Hashem. The 5th level, only the neshama has. It's the yechida, the essence, which is the part of the neshama that's part of God. Now, this is explained in Kabbalah and Chassidus, but everything in Kabbalah and Chassidus has to be found in the revealed aspect of Torah. Where do we see this? I don't know if you know this. I forgot where the Gemara is. But the story is there that there were 2 sages, and there was something, but they weren't sure if it's a person or it's a demon that they saw in the distance. A shed or a human being? A shed is a demon that comes in the guise of a human being. It doesn't happen nowadays, but it used to happen. So the litmus test was see if the shadow casts a shadow. And if the shadow, because it was the sun was shining, doesn't make another shadow, then it's not a Jew. It's a demon. It's an apparition, and they should be wary of it. What's the meaning? The shadow is like outside of you. The three levels we described now are conscious, mind, heart, and soul. The shadow hovers around you. So if he has one shadow, that's will. But if he does have a second shadow, that's Yechida, that means he's not a Jewish soul. The question was, he's a Jew, a Yid or a demon? That was the question. So the shadow doesn't come. So bevur, the bevur leslahu, that's an indication in the Talmud to this mystical idea of that only a Yid has this Yechida, this soul essence, the part of the soul that's a part of Hashem. And by the way, you may notice when we say Kaddish, when I say that final Kaddish at the end, so I tell you, you're going to notice. Before I say the Kaddish, I do this. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing, but we all copying the Rebbe. But we do know that he would say, when he said, just before the final Kaddish, he would quote that part in Tanya that says that the Yiddish in the Neshama is verily chelek alakam yimal mamish. It's part of Hashem. And for some reason, he would pass his hand over his forehead. Nobody knows why. But we saw it, so we're doing it. And we certainly understand to say these words, that the godly soul, the neshama is part of Hashem above, is obviously connected to your loved one, and you're invoking that and you're revealing it, and whatever, some connection to a very deep level. Now, every Yid has these 5 levels. So what's the 5th level? I am a Jew. I am. So if the bottom level is I do mitzvahs, that's nefesh. Ruach is I love Hashem, I love Yiddishkeit, emotional connection. Neshama is I understand, I learn Torah, I'm inspired. Chaya is my desire, my passion, I want Yiddishkeit. Yechida is I am Yiddishkeit. I'm a Jew. It's part of who I am. That's the deepest level. Now, in the same way that we have these 5 levels, each one of us as a Yid, Yechida, which is, by the way, a name. A name is associated with all the 4 levels. Your Jewish name. But the 5th level is beyond the name, because the name is a description and a certain personality. That's why we don't give the name right away when the child is born. There's many reasons. But one reason is because first we acknowledge here, in essence, is a neshama beyond all description, beyond all names. And then the child gets the individual name. We just had my grandson, Menashe's bris, son's bris was yesterday, Achon Shal Pesach, and given the name Menachem Mendel, after my father. The Rebbe, my father, up there it's one address. We were very blessed that my uncle from Australia, whose name is also Menachem Mendel, was in Crown Heights with his children for Pesach. My uncle, my father's brother-in-law, they're very Kluvgan, Sholem Menachem Mendel Kluvgan, and they were very close. And he gave the name. It was a very special thing. He read the name. So in the same way we have these 5 levels personally, here comes the crux. Over the span of history, if we would spiritually plot the generations of every generation on a spiritual soul map, it would make out the entire 5 levels. And there were certain leaders, tzaddikim, that embodied the essence of that level. So briefly, this is from, just going to tell you where this is from the Zohar de Ramez, Moshe Zakato, famous commentary on the Zohar, explains where the Zohar speaks about the 5 levels of the soul. King David, David HaMelech, he embodied the nefesh level. He was a warrior, he was a doer, he was action. So he embodied that behavioral level, the great conqueror of Klal Yisrael for all generations. David is nefesh. Ruach, emotion, passion, emotion, that is Eliyahu Hanavi. Also, he brings that, Ruach ascends on high. Eliyahu Hanavi, when he left this world, his whole body and soul went up in a fiery chariot to heaven. But he lived in a very also emotional time. He challenged the people emotionally. The famous story on Mount Carmel, the people were serving the rage of the time called Baal, and he made a big showdown, and he said to them, make up your mind, either follow, because they're doing both. They're going to Shul on Shabbos, and then on Friday night or Sunday, they're going to who knows where. He says, make up your mind. If it's Baal, go with Baal. If it's God, go with Torah. It's an emotional challenge, straight to the heart. That's Eliyahu Hanavi. If you know his story, a very tumultuous, emotional time he had to deal with. So he embodies the level of Ruach, the emotion. The heart of Klal Yisrael is embodied in the great prophet Eliyahu Hanavi. Neshama, intellect, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, the great teacher, he embodies the mind, the teachings, the wisdom, and the mind of Klal Yisrael over the span of all generations. He is the head. Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher. Chaya, which is willpower. Adam, before the sin. Adam Arishan. So he's the first human being. So just to make it brief, but he wasn't Jewish. So to explain, his body belonged to all of humanity. His soul was a Jewish soul. And he embodied this fourth level of will. We might add, like he's the baby, the child of humanity. What do you see in a child? It's will. So we just want to survive. There's no intellect, emotion, behavior. It's just, I need to eat, I need to survive. It's survival. It's this raw life survival. Chaya. Then we get older, the other levels develop and they obscure that. But all the child wants, it's the instinct. Chaya is the instinct, the instinctual drive. I want to make it. We get older, so I want to be successful. But for the child, it's in its purest form. He was the child, Adam and Chava, the child of humanity. And Moshiach Yechid. Moshiach, his soul, embodies the soul essence of Klal Yisrael. It's already 5:02. Well, we will continue. Sorry. Okay.
Go
We have to
ahead.
continue. Okay.
Go ahead.